Point shoulder girdle. The longest chapter in the book. Just kidding. Trapezius. Causes would be sudden trauma, such as falling. Whiplash injury. I like this one. Are you ready? Walking with a cane. So this is for your people walking with canes. You might want to check the traps. Arm rests in high position. I love these possible causes. Symptoms and indications would be severe neck pain, headache, stiff neck, pain patterns. You would see pain pattern at the angle of the mandible, right? Temporal region, lateral and posterior sides of the neck. So side and back of neck. You're going to feel it in the upper back and the medial border of the scapula. This is actually like, the traps are like trigger point, the trigger point gods. So, and you'll see here, right along that medial border, this is where a lot of trigger points hang out. You'll see traps and medial border. Associated trigger points, so they might also have trigger points in the temporalis, the occipitals, the masseter, the pec major and the minor, the levator. That's why when someone has a lot of headaches, a lot of tension in the neck, we're doing the whole jaw and head. A lot of people are like, oh, I've never had my head massaged during a massage. I'm like, what? I feel like that's like one of the most important things to do is the scalp and the head. Just to help with tension. It's weird. Touch your people's heads, for goodness sakes. Right now. All right. Other diagnoses might be TMJ disorder. Trigger points in the mastication muscles. Or fibromyalgia. Why not? Throw that one in there. More. So, of the 8 slides, 1 was the title page, and 4 is, or the rest of the 3 were trapezius. That's why it's really important. Now, I tend to not really notice a lot of trigger points down here in like the lower traps. Most of them are mid to upper, right? Levator scapula. Woo. Causes. Occupational stresses. Typing with your head and neck turns. Don't do that. Holding the phone between your ear and the shoulder. Now, I know that we're living in 2026 and nobody talks on the phone like that anymore. Everybody talks on speakerphone with their phone in front of their face. And I just want to like smack the phone. Smack them in the mouth with it. The aggression. Another cause could be sleeping with your neck in a tilted position and also walking with a cane. Don't do it. But if you think about you're walking with a cane, all that pressure is going on one side. Symptoms and indications would be pain at the angle of the neck, a stiff neck, torticollis. Do you guys remember what that is? Usually on one side, usually scalenes are affected, pulling that neck to the side. A lot of it is infants. It's a baby thing. Unable to turn the head fully to the same side or the opposite side. All sides are equal. Pain patterns, posterior shoulder and neck, so the back of your neck and your shoulder. Or the medial border of the scap. So when in doubt, just rub all of the upper back. Because you're like, I don't know if this trigger point's in the levator or if it's in the traps or the rhomboids. We'll figure it out. Just do it all. Other associated trigger points would be trapezius, rhomboids, splenius capitis. Differential diagnosis. Splenius cervicis trigger points. I love that it says that but doesn't put that in the associated. It's associated. Scapulocostal dysfunction or sternocleidomastoid trigger points. Scapula, costal, ribs, right? Like a stuck rib can cause this. Rhomboid major and minor. Causes. Possible causes. Painting overhead or working overhead. Prolonged leaning forward. Rounded shoulder positions, such as when writing or sewing or knitting or surfing the web. Surfing TikTok. Symptoms or indications. Superficial aching at rest. Snapping or crunching noises during movement of the scapula. Ooh, sometimes when you're massaging someone, especially with your elbow, you'll hear the crunchy, snappy, rhomboidy trigger points. Ooh, it's good. Sometimes people like kind of flinch or pull away when you roll over like an adhesion or trigger point. And I'm thinking, this doesn't hurt. This feels great. I know it. Pain patterns. Exactly where your rhomboids are located. Medial border of the scap. Associated trigger points would be also scalenes, your levator, the trap, middle section of the trap, and your infraspinatus. Do you guys remember where that's at? If you don't, you better learn. Supra is at the top. Infraspinatus is at the bottom, right under the spine of the scap. Differential diagnoses. Fibromyalgia. Scapulocostal dysfunction. Now let's talk about that serratus anterior. That guy. Causes for trigger points here. And actually, working on the serratus hurts like a son of a gun. So be mindful that it's sensitive. It's ribby, so it's very bony. So lighter pressure when we're working on the serratus. This is where myofascial work would be very helpful because you're not directly touching it. You're indirectly affecting this muscle by stretching and working on the fascia. Anyhow, possible causes. Excessively fast or prolonged running. I wish that they could see me just now. Push-ups, lifting weights overhead, and severe coughing. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Trail Guide, for my amusement. Symptoms and indications. Chest pain, a stitch in the side while running, or pain in the side while running. Inability to lie on that affected muscle on that side, and shortness of breath. Pain patterns would be that side of your thorax, lateral side, just below the axilla, just below the armpit, running down the medial side of the arm into the hand. So it can affect all that. So that's why sometimes when people are having pain down the arm into last two fingers, doesn't necessarily mean that it is an impinged nerve or a pinched nerve, all right, on the ulnar side. It could just be a serratus anterior trigger point. If they're continuing to have issues down this arm, and you've worked on all the muscles that you think might affect this, it probably is some kind of nerve damage, and that I would refer out to find the cause of it. Associated trigger points would be pec major, SCM, middle scalenes. Oh, come on. It's off the screen. Hold on. I don't know why it does that sometimes. I'm clicking it, but it ain't working. It is working in slow motion. There we go. Where's the good stuff at? All right. Differential diagnoses. Costochondritis. Break it down. Inflammation of the costal cartilage, right? Intercostal nerve entrapment, herpes zoster, or broken rib. Whew. And I mean, the rib doesn't necessarily have to be broken. Have you guys anybody ever experienced a rib going out of place or anything? Yes, it is. And then you just go to the chiropractor and they pop everything. Pec minor. What are some trigger point causes? Rounded shoulders, trauma, such as recoil from a rifle. So anybody who likes to hunt might have trigger points in the pec minor. Strain from overuse as a shoulder depressor. And strain during inhalation. Symptoms, indications. Major complaint is pain over the anterior deltoid region, front of the shoulder. All right? Difficulty reaching forward and up. So that would be flexion. Neurovascular symptoms through entrapment of neurovascular bundle. So the pec minor can also affect brachial plexus. All right. Pain patterns. Anterior chest, running down the arm. Right? Radiates down the medial side of the arm into the fingertips. Other associated trigger points might be your pec major, your deltoid, the anterior portion, scalenes, and SCM. Other diagnoses would be thoracic outlet syndrome, radiculopathy, and C7, C8. I know there's not technically a C8. We're talking about where the nerve is. All right, so that's between C7 and T1. Bicipital or the supraspinatus tendonitis. So that is when your bicep tendon or the supraspinatus tendon becomes inflamed, and it can cause the same pain pattern. This is why assessment is so important, right? There you go. Good day, mate.